Greetings and welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on November, good question, 13th, 2023 at approximately 4:18 p.m. PST. Now I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind everybody that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I personally guide my own life and actions by. I've shared these tools with literally thousands of people over the years, with varying degrees of success, depending entirely on their own efforts. Now, before I go any further here, let's get back into the normal route. We have eternity in with the gold. And let's see. So, eternity, I hope things are going well. And thank you so much for your concern on the computer. It's a mess. Okay, but the one I've got is working. I'm going to end up replacing a computer sooner or later, but this one kind of ended up with a bit of a hiccup. And Shadow and Sun are in with the silver. And that said, this is the link. Hopefully I remember to do this, right? This is the link to Shadow's live stream. So drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and then share the daylights out of the thing. Joe, you're in with the bronze. And I see here you put your foot in your mouth, hopefully not too deep. I find it's very easy to get my foot stuck in my mouth. The problem is trying to get the other one in there with it. And then honorable mention goes to Amy Tonga. And then we still have Wyatt Arano is in the house. And Sherry B, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, we've talked about a lot of things over the past couple of years, not the least of which is my throat seizing. Problem with the computer that I dealt with before we get into tonight's topic. I've shown you what my hand does if I'm not concentrating on it. Well, for the third time in my life, it spasmed so badly it caused a problem. The first time was way back in the 80s, where it spasmed so badly I took a Boston Brute, which was out of Boston Pizza, which basically is a beef dip. And I picked the thing up, and all of a sudden my hand spasmed, and the meal went up against the wall, right as the waitress arrived. Well, of course, she's like, "I'm sorry, sir, did I do something wrong?" I'm like, no, that's just a normal side effect of nerve damage. So I worked through that one. The second one was about 5 years ago when my hand spasmed while I was shaving with an electric razor. And I slit my throat from here all the way to here. Thankfully missed the jugular. Unfortunately, I did one heck of a mess of the shirt I was wearing. And then this one, where I picked my coffee cup up, my hand spasmed. Coffee cup hit the screen on the monitor, hit the monitor on the laptop, and dumped an entire cup of black coffee, talk about a waste, on my computer. However, we did manage to get it all sorted around. I did get all the data off, so I didn't lose any of that. Just the laptop itself and one monitor. So I'm down to 2 monitors, but a lot more room on my desk, and this is a good thing. Now, as far as this whole idea of a new look at dimensions, I keep getting asked by people, are we going to move to another dimension? People say we're ascending to the 5th dimension. There's something you guys have to come to understand. Now, I had a problem with it to start with, and I think the hiccup here is this. Many people assume that they're moving to another dimension when somebody steps out of sync, when you can no longer see them. Okay, the reality behind that is if you move an object fast enough, you're not going to be able to see it. But from my experience, literally anything that you can sense in any fashion in the third dimension is of the third dimension. A fourth dimensional creature cannot exist in third dimensional space, nor can a third dimensional exist in fourth dimension, or any other dimension for that matter. Okay, now this is why they developed and why somebody came up with a rendition of the Tesseract. Okay, which was their representation of a fourth dimensional object. Okay, the reality is it's a great piece of artwork. Okay, it's a fabulous piece of artwork. But the fourth dimension is a place where third dimensional beings just won't survive. Your cell structure isn't capable of stretching that far. And besides that, they're on a totally different sync. Okay, you've got more chance of surviving at the bottom of the ocean without additional apparatus than you do surviving in another dimension. Now, this does not mean that dimensions don't exist. Okay. Oh, and by the way, before I go any further there, if you've got a question, even if it is not of the same topic we're discussing right now, put the thing in the chat room in all caps. Okay, all caps, partial caps. At least put a wavy sign in there. That way, at least I can find the thing. Now, in this chat room, it is not considered screaming if you write in all caps. It's simply just opening the window, guys. It's just simply a way of getting my attention. Okay, now, couple of things about dimensions. I've heard all kinds of things. So take everything you've heard, okay, take everything you've listened to, and absolutely hang on to it if you choose to. Okay, but I will tell you from my experience, there are only 12 dimensions. Okay, and yes, eventually you will get there, and I'll explain that as we go along how that works. Eventually you will get there, but you will not get there at this stage. The fact that you are still looking at dimensions, and this is just one aspect of it, the fact that you may still be considering dimensions as a possibility of traveling between them says you have not remembered enough from my experience. Okay, because once you do, you'll realize there's only one way you get to the other dimensions. Collect all of your component parts in the third dimension. Then you go back to the great hub. Okay, or more to the point, you go back to the hub where all 12 dimensions connect. Now, here's a neat little similarity for you. I was working on it today, or more to the point, dawned on me today. Where are we? Right here. I'm sure you guys recognize this. Okay, this neat little wheel. Now, the neat thing with this wheel is it was built with literally only 4 pieces, only 4 tools. Okay. This is an astrological wheel. Now, no, it's not set up right. It should be. Where are we here? Yeah. Should be sitting that way. Now, if you'll notice, if we take this way, there would be your third dimension. Now, here's the funny kicker to it. You'll notice we've got the astrological wheel set up. You get all your component parts from this dimension. Then you move to the hub. Once you're here, now you can pick any one of the other dimensions. Okay. And go and do the same thing. You spread yourself out in multiple component parts. And then when you've done that, you come back. And you keep repeating this process until you get all 12 components. You've experienced everything you can. Then you go through the center point and you're granted access you're granted access to the great hub itself. Oh, look at that. My video froze. I can't do much about that. I've got minimal minimal programs running right now because of the fact that we have an interesting issue of not enough RAM. This computer only has 12 gig of RAM. Well, and let's take a look at that one. Let's shut down everything we can. Whoop. Blow that up. We close that. And that we need open. That, on the other hand, can be closed. What I'm doing is closing any program that I can to eliminate the problem. You know, free up as much bandwidth as I can get away with. Joe, your dream state is literally, and that's an excellent question, but your dream state is literally part of the third dimension. Okay, that is something that takes place in your brain. Now, do not get me wrong, your dreams aren't crazy. It's just they go beyond standard thinking. But dreams are literally concocted for one of three reasons in your corporeal brain, which means in the third dimension. Okay, a lot of different things can be attributed to that. Chemical firing, probably based on stress. Derek, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Okay, many dreams come in because of stress. Okay, or because of literally precognition, also known as pre-knowing. Okay, trauma will trigger some of them, but all of these are brought about by existing in the third dimension. Okay, now from your standpoint, dreams are very useful in a lot of ways. Well, you made one comment. The funny thing there, Derek, I got asked. It was just priceless. I asked a guy one day. He was Japanese, wearing a kilt. I looked at him. I said, "Why, pray tell, are you wearing a kilt?" I says, "You're not Scottish, right? So why the kilt?" He goes, "Well, I just wanted to be different." I says, "Mission accomplished." Now, what do we got? Derek Galloway got, I got the new David Grush interview. Have you guys seen it yet? No, in all fairness, I really haven't. Of course, I haven't seen a whole lot of things. This weekend was a shambles where it came to computer tech. But no, the reality of it is when we're dealing with dimensions, we're all in the third dimension. Now, I will tell you, there are a staggering number of people, of entities, that vibrate faster than you can see them. And I surmise that it's that higher vibratory rate that makes people believe that that these guys are stepping into a new dimension. Okay, combination of high vibration and camouflage know-how. I love it, Derek. By the way, Derek, I did discover something you missed at the start, I think, but it has been completely proven. A laptop computer will not handle a frontal assault by a coffee cup. At least the monitor won't. But no, when we're talking dreams, they are coming in from the third dimension. Okay. And you will eventually get the opportunity to go to the other dimensions. Absolutely. But understanding that, let's be realistic here, shall we? Earth is not rising to the fifth dimension mankind is not ascending to the 4th, the 9th, the 12th. Doesn't matter. It's not happening. You're stuck in the 3rd dimension. I put things together. You know, the neat part about it, when we're looking at dimensions, okay, once you are at that point where you can look to the other dimensions, I will tell you, they will drive you completely buggy. Okay, because the fact of the matter is, if you watch the Marvel movie Descent into Madness, okay, that's actually very much a real possibility. I'd love to know who the guy was that came up with that storyline. I don't think Stan Lee came up with it, although it wouldn't be a shock. You know, how we doing, Christine? Glad you could join us. But the whole reality of it is, you've got the 3rd dimension. Let's turn this one around. Then we start worrying about other ones. Because the other dimensions have their own list of complications, and intriguingly enough, people go through the same struggles and the same questions. You know, that's just the reality behind the way that life works. But what do we got here? Yeah, no, this whole idea of going to and I like the way you point that out. Oh, we're descending to the 5th dimension. We're going to bypass the 4th one because that's just boring. Problem: you try and go to the 5th dimension. It's kind of, well, number one, you're not making it. Backwards in time, you're not doing that either. Neither are you going to be jumping timelines or realities into another reality where you can have your life. But we're going to give you some tools here, and we're going to start. Well, we started a while back, but we're going to reiterate some of them again tonight to take your world as it is and change it and co-create the world you desire. Tom, call it changing dimensions if you want. I don't care. Call it a peanut butter sandwich. Okay, but a couple of major misconceptions. Most people look at giant rising to a higher dimension because they figure, most people that talk about ascending to a higher dimension, it's because they've got themselves convinced, either by somebody else's doing or their own, that if you rise to a higher dimension, you're now above other people. You're now better than other people. There is no easy fix to getting your life in order. I'd love to say there was. Okay. I mean, there's an easy fix. Bear in mind, guys, this is not a knife. This is a letter opener. Okay, I play with it the same way I do with my knife, but I don't like it pointing this way. It's very easy to change direction. Okay, but there's no easy way that I'm aware of. Well, no quick way to change the way your life is going. Now you'll notice my bed is again covered. That's because, let's get that out of the way. That's because all of this bank of paperwork here is all me taking a look at my company. I'm reorganizing it to make sure it becomes what I'm aiming for. Now, Joe goes, now, the nice part for me, when I have an extraordinary dream, I usually remember the whole thing the next morning or day. I write down everything. Joe, you're one of the lucky few. Absolutely. You're definitely, it's a good thing. And just think, you look back over those dreams. Now, please tell me you're putting a date and time on them. How you doing, football? I do hope you're putting the date and time down that you start recording the dream. Because what you will find is that they do tend to repeat themselves. Okay. I'd open that up, but that's not a good idea. Well, I've done it before, and they are a riot. You know, they really are. And I'll tell you, like, I am not able to fly a plane. Of course, here's the kicker. Handling a standard computer, which, by the way, the end of this month, I do have a couple courses lined up to learn, get this, basic computer operations. Okay. But give me a biomagnetic flux holographic interface, I'm quite at home. And you're looking at me going, okay, that sounded like Swahili. Oh, there you go. Have a good night there, Wyatt. Thanks so much for sharing your time with us. Really do appreciate it. You know, guys, just for edification, I'm looking at this, and the question that whatever Wyatt has been asking doesn't show up here. Like, it's not in here at all. Which there ain't much I can do about that one. You know, I don't like it when questions don't show up, but there's not much I can do about that one. Okay, what do I got here? Because that always throws me for a loop. Oh, well, thank you for the corroboration there, Football. I appreciate it. I don't like missing people's questions. This is why, and I think it's been Derek that's ended up doing it. Sometimes I think it's Derek that periodically. Yeah, Derek, I think it's you that periodically ends up sending me a question on the cell, isn't it? Because sometimes that works. I can't explain the way technology works, but what the heck? But when we look at dimensions itself, okay, we are looking at only 12 of them. Now, why only 12? Well, the best I can tell you is that's what I was told they have. That's all that were made. Okay, and the basic rule of thumb for that is because of the fact that where it comes to the dimensions, much more importantly, where it comes to universal numerology, 12 is the number of ultimate wisdom. Yeah, and that's just it. And Derek, you definitely speak your mind. I'm not known for filtering mine, but I do appreciate it. The reality is that when we have a situation that doesn't show up, and this is why I tell people, if I don't see it, ask again, or find a way, even drop the question into the comments later. Okay, and I will do my best to get back to you. I know there was a problem with one of you guys that the question couldn't come through for whatever reason. Well, the question showed up in the YouTube or in the comments. The individual in question left the question in my comments. I got back to her right away. Well, as soon as I saw the question. But understand, where it comes to Earth, everything in existence here is third dimensional. Now, yes, I know that goes against what some people are claiming. Okay, most people look at going to a different dimension the same way they look at going to a different house. Well, if I go to a different house and start over, it'll be a better life. Yeah, that can always be fun. Joe, curiosity. Have your cemetery dreams ever physically occurred? Like, I realize they repeat themselves under different circumstances. The curious part is whether or not you've had a physical occurrence that was replicated, or more to the point, that had been pre-laid out from a dream. Just a curiosity thing on that part. Because what I have found is this. The first dream of a given type is a starting point. The second one gives you a marker, and the third one will give you an occurrence date, a fruition date. Okay, it's just simple geometry that you use to figure that out. Okay, and a little bit of mathematical calculation. Did I miss anything up here? Because I go back, as you guys know, I scroll back up periodically to make sure. But no, I remember going into the cemetery one day. A buddy of mine said he really wanted to have one of these paranormal experiences. So he picked a night. I looked at him. I said, "Well, let's see. It's a Friday night. It's a full moon. Why don't we go and take a peek?" So we went out to the graveyard, and he and I sat there and watched. And he started the thing off. And he goes, "Did you see that, Keith?" I looked at him and I says, "Which?" Because I'm looking around the graveyard and I'm seeing a lot going on. He said, and he points to the far corner. He goes, "I saw a smoky figure get up out of that gravesite." And I says, "Yeah." I says, "It went 3 gravesites over, and then it sunk down." And he goes, "Oh my God, you did see it." I says, "Yeah." He says, "But come with me." So we got up. Now, bear in mind, it's midnight under a full moon in the middle of a cemetery. Okay. So we got up and walked over, and we checked out the 2 gravesites. Why they were 3 gravesites apart, I'm not entirely certain. I don't recall checking the names between them. But as it turned out, you had your husband buried here, and 3 gravesites over was the wife. Both dead, both young. And he goes, "Well, why are they crossing the gravesite?" I looked at him and I said, "What, you think just because they're dead they don't love each other anymore?" This is why I told my dad when he told me he didn't want us tied into the gravesite. That's why they didn't get buried. They got cremated. The moment he told me that they were doing that, I looked at him and I says, I said, "Why would I be tied to your gravesite?" I said, "You're not going to be." But this buddy of mine, he was just absolutely flabbergasted because there's a lot of that going on in the gravesite. Okay, there's a lot of it that goes on in the physical world in the gravesite, but there's more of it that goes on in the afterlife, which I find kind of fascinating. And no, I don't go knocking on tombstones to get their attention. It's just plain rude. But even the dead, even the spirits you see in this world, they're vibrating at a different rate. They are of different corporeal consistency, but they are third dimensional. And that's the thing we have to keep in mind. The hardest part in all of this is trying to figure out, but everybody tells me, there's so many people saying, we're going to ascend. There's also a lot of people telling you somebody else is going to come here from off-world and straighten out this fiasco we call civilization. Sad to say, everybody on that line, and you'll figure this one out eventually. Just my opinion from what I've seen and from the way I've watched civilization grow. Okay, nobody's coming to straighten this out. You're stuck in the third dimension, and now is the time to make that change. Okay, so, that's the business side of things. Actually, this half of the bed is stuff I'm going through, striving to sort out. But this stack here, this stack of paperwork here, these are all poems that I've written. Many of them are going into an anthology in the near future. And then, of course, this stack is gaming material. Okay, so it really boils down to, now bear in mind, I set all this in motion because this used to look a lot worse. But I'm looking at the reality of, I'm not content with the way my world is. I'm not content with the way the world out there is. Doxy, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And I do believe I missed, or did I just see you? You just came in. I just didn't see it. But welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. I'm not content with the way my world is. So here's what's happened. You know what this app used to be? This computer is still my main computer. Not the same one, by the way. Doxy is like, I'm so late. As usual. Yeah, well, look at the bright side. I didn't show up at all yesterday. Shadow, is there any other kind? I mean, I'm just curious because I've yet to see a different kind of week than weird. Oh, you'll love this. I got to put the character together, but because of the situation, we started a new campaign, a new solo campaign for me. I'm literally running a gnomish gladiator. Yeah, a buddy of mine decided that we were going to do things a little different, so ended up running a gnomish gladiator. That's proving to be an interesting endeavor. But I have managed to get the computer all sorted around. See this neat little thing? Surprised the heck out of me. I thought I had a 2 terabyte hard drive. This thing is a 5 terabyte hard drive. So I didn't lose any of the data on my computer when I drowned the poor thing. But it was dying anyway. So I have somebody, as I think it was Frank put it, so it was dying, so you drown it. Actually, his name is Thaddeus the Color. As in, he literally is, he's a man. He does a nasty job. But he is, he's a little bit high on himself on his ability. Much more importantly, he's very likable, but he does not, he doesn't take sheep from anybody. And at less than 3 feet tall, you can bet he gets a lot of flack. But yeah, my game master found the description of him in the Gnomish handbook. So we decided to go that route. Now we're just going to run with it. and see where that goes. But no, and yes, for those of you that are wondering, there is a dimension, or more to the point, there is a place in the multiverse where these sorts of things that take place in the gaming world actually take place in the real world. Okay, but in the gaming world here, in the real world over there. It's not a different dimension. It's just another part of the multiverse. And no, you can't get there. Although, if you're interested in that kind of a bizarre life, and yes, I ran with them for a while, there's a group called the SCA, the Society for Creative Anachronism. Now, that community, as they put it, they strive to reenact the Middle Ages the way we would have liked them to be, aka the proper decorum, the proper etiquette, proper linguistical in communication lines, without all the garbage and feces in the streets. Okay, rest assured, if you think this world's is a bad setup, back in the Middle Ages, not fun. Okay, but are you able to get there? No, but you can certainly create that kind of a world here, albeit you're going to have a hard time with the magic side. Okay, but the appearance, you can do that easy. And depending on how confident you are in yourself, will determine just how far you can go with it. But yeah, I figured you might get a kick out of that one, Shadow. This is actually a Gnomish Gladiator is literally the first character in a long time that I got a feel for right off the bat. But I gotta ask, I'm just looking back here, Shadow. You've asked if everybody's ready for a weird week. I'm curious if you've got something in mind that you know is coming, or if it's just a question. I know the week's gonna be weird, so what the heck? I'll ask. Well, so much for that thought. As in, half the on, half the on. Ken, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The reality of this is anything you can imagine almost anything you can imagine from a different dimension. Okay, you can make happen. In my case, I decided I wasn't content with the way my world is, so I've been changing in case you hadn't noticed. Okay, cleaning up, getting stuff out of the way, and really putting a lot of time into writing and what have you. Now, here's the kicker. I got up at 1 o'clock this morning. I've been on the go ever since, which may explain I'm tired. But I go to bed before 10 o'clock. I'm going to be up at 1 anyway. Oh, fantastic football. I think, myself, I think that's great. Because that's this coming week, isn't it? Absolutely, Doxy. Absolutely. Get this. Now, I've talked to you guys about where my finances are. Okay. But I focused on it, started making some adjustments to my behavior, to my handling things, and then took a look at my current state. Okay. Now, get this. Yeah, I'm running real low on cash, but I'm still owed several $1,000s from people. Okay. Let me think here. What was it? 25 of 40, 15. I'm still owed by other people. Okay, and this is why I'm not worrying too much about it. Although they're in no position to pay it back. Okay, yes, I'm very low on cash, but I am still owed that I haven't collected approximately $25,000 that I'm still owed by other people, plus my credit line currently. And I know, why am I telling you this? Well, there's a reason for that, and I'll get to it in a second. Okay, currently, I've got $20,000 in credit, in credit available, but I owe nobody anything. Okay, I've got bills that will be coming in, but I am debt free. No cash, debt free. Nice balance point. Okay, now the way I did that was literally, I took a look in the mirror and went, number one, I looked at my world and went, this ain't going to work anymore. Okay, 2 years ago, I was $20,000 in debt. Okay, and 249 pounds. Now, that said, by combining, grab those. By combining specifically this book, not that one, by specifically combining this book, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams, and Believe in Your Business and Follow in your finances and follow your dreams, by combining these tools, I am now down at about 190 pounds-ish, 192, 93, I think. Okay. And debt free. Okay. Now, this particular one, Believe in Your Business and Follow Your Dreams, is why I've got all the paperwork laid out behind me, is to get that all reworked. Absolutely, Doxy. Doxy goes, you must live and breathe it, feel it, dwell in the emotions and of it, and bang, it happens. Took a couple of months. Absolutely. That's okay. I read it as a couple of months to start with. You know, absolutely. But you start with this. Okay. And yes, I've shown you this before. You start with these 4 words. This is the open gate. Now, call it a different dimension, if you will. Call it a different reality. Okay, it doesn't matter what you call it. You know, call it a peanut butter sandwich if you'd like. Doxy, just a thought. If you can't get your fingers to work, try with your toes. That ought to make your fingers look like they're working beautifully. You know, I mean, get this. I knew my mom used to type on a one arm on the old manual typewriters. Okay. And she used to type at 100 or at 80 words a minute on the old the old manuals where you had to literally carriage return. Now, the neat part about it was she had a classmate that would type at 120 words a minute with only one hand. Her left hand was completely missing. What do we got here? Yeah. Gordana, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, the reality of it is we're in the 3rd dimension. You desire your reality to shift. You desire your world to take on a different appearance. Look back at my old videos. This is why I say I talk about tools that I personally use. Now, I have not yet stabilized my hand. Okay. I'm talking the thing that causes this to try to do that, though, is high stress. High stress is a big trigger. And unfortunately, in my case, that is caused by brain damage right smack in the middle. Okay. Net result, there's a lot of collateral damage. I'm in the process of rewiring. Most of the time it works. Sometimes not so much. Okay. But the thing we have to look at is every tool that is used out there, whether it is your imagination, whether it is numerology, tarot, astrology, maybe you're a counselor or a psychiatrist. Everybody has the opportunity. You've all got the choice. I'm going to focus on the positive, or I'm going to focus on the negative. It's up to you which one you choose. But I will tell you this, whichever one you choose, that's the one you're going to draw around you. Yeah, Emmy's just going, where are we here? Yeah, Joe goes, yep, Shadow, I'm used to being weird. You know, I like that. I don't know if I've got it here. I might. Here we are. This is a very important little piece for you. Take that so it doesn't fall down. Put that there for a minute. Here we go. A good friend of mine gave this to me. Since we're on the topic of being weird. Okay. This is what a friend of mine gave me. It's literally a fridge magnet. Okay. And if you can't read it, it says, I'm not weird, I'm gifted. Okay. It's kind of like the other one he gave me that goes, I don't suffer from insanity. I enjoy every minute of it. Now let us take this. Put that there. I just keep my magnets on my filing cabinet right out of range. What do we got here? Oh, absolutely. In all fairness, Toxic. In all fairness, Toxic. If you're using positivity to shame somebody else, it's not positive. Okay, it really isn't. God asked that football. I presume that question you posted, was your mom a good cook? I presume that is that you're asking me if my mom was a good cook. Okay, if that's the case, yeah, okay. Well, when my mom moved out of her birth home, she knew how to cook, how to make toast, and 10 different types of porridge. That was it. My dad, on the other hand, taught her how to cook properly, and she was a phenomenal cook. Okay, she would make, like, for instance, turkey dinner, since we're right around that point. She would make turkey that melted off the bones. So, yeah, she made a couple of things I didn't like, but then anybody could have made them. I wouldn't have liked them. Matter of fact, but you give her anything and she could turn it into something not only edible, but that was actually flavorful. And the thing is, she never cooked with a measuring cup to speak of. And so, well, she did with a measuring cup, but not where it came to spices. That was all done, salt and everything else was done by eyeball. Could I cook like her? Not a prayer. No sense of time, no sense of taste, and no sense of space. Problem in the kitchen. That's right. But yeah, quite frankly, her whole bloodline was really good as far as cooking went. But that being said, I learned how to fake, but oh yeah, well we had a rule in our house when I was growing up. It was called Friday night goulash. And what that meant was mom would open the fridge and anything that was still edible that was leftovers went into the same pan and we called it goulash. Right. Now, whether that was the proper name for it didn't matter to us. It was dinner, and that worked out well. I'm lucky, though. My eldest son is a trained cook and does enjoy cooking. So that works out quite conveniently from my standpoint. But is there a reality? Can I imagine a reality where I can cook well? Certainly. But I can also imagine a world where I've got the strength to grab hold of a globe and twist it and pull it apart. Not necessarily a great idea. Well, Doxy, think of it this way. Okay, and I do feel for you in one sense, but think of it this way: if you can cook well enough to avoid your kids dying, your siblings dying on you, you did the job right. That's the whole behind the whole. That's the basic idea behind cooking. Make certain somebody doesn't starve to death. You know, if you can make it taste better, make it a little fancier, whatever, that's icing on the cake. By the way, never put icing on liver. Just take my word for it. It's a bad idea. It's almost as bad as ketchup on ice cream. But like I said, everything that we work with here, everything you see, whether it's a shadow, a milky image as in a ghost, maybe maybe what you're seeing is something that looks completely nonsensical. Okay, like for instance, batteries not included. Everything you ever see in the physical world, I don't mean on movies, okay? I mean if you're seeing it face to face, you're dealing with a situation where it's something in the third dimensional reality. No, you're not getting out of here onto the fourth dimension or the fifth one. Nobody's coming down to pick up a couple of you and go, oh, you're special. Okay. Not going to happen. You're all equally important. Doc goes, nope, I'm glad I was a fixer. I will never wish I had it any different because I am who I am, good or bad, due to it. I'm a good human. Well, I'm a good human, so many aren't. Absolutely the case, Sir Doxy. Absolutely the case. You know, whatever you've been through, it makes you what you are today. Okay, I can look back and recite all kinds of things I wish I hadn't done or wished I had done. Okay, but I'm not going into any of the ones I wished I hadn't done. The ones I wish I had done, I'm working on. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about taking this reality. Let go of the idea that you're going to ascend to a higher dimension. That is not going to happen this lifetime. Okay, it may be several lifetimes before you pull it all together. But I will tell you this: if you're still of the mindset that you're more than welcome to it, I am not the be all and end all. You enjoy that, Doc. See, I move on and I'm lost inside of the first hour. Quite frankly, I'm lost inside the first 15 minutes. So I think I'll just stay stuck right smack in the middle of Urban Central. On the other hand, I'm living in an apartment of 1,000 square feet. Main floor, no stairs, no yard work. Okay. And I'm only paying $1,000 a month. Oh, I mean, my memory, I grew up on the island, Doxy. So, of course, as many of you, if you know anything about about Vancouver Island, it happens to be a rainforest. And it was on Vancouver Island that I ended up running into my friend, the Sasquatch. You know, that's just the reality of life. But I like the rainforest. I just don't like getting lost in it. Because getting lost for me just makes me very edgy. And I hope you realize, Doxy, At 60 years old, frankly, you're still young. If I have my way, I'm 60 like you are. If I have my way, and I usually do, I'm aiming to see my 137th birthday, which means I haven't even hit middle age. Well, I will tell you, the Yowies they're wonderful people. They're wonderful people, very gentle. They really are gentle people. Of course, like all gentle people, corner them, you may not have as much luck. You know, the reality of the way that this world is, we do have the capacity to shift its gears. We don't have the capacity to shift its reality. And the people that I hear so many people go, "Oh, our world, the world is ascending to the fifth dimension. This is great. That means life's going to end on Earth." Don't take that the wrong way. Okay. But bearing in mind that third dimensional entities, third dimensional creations cannot exist in fifth dimensional space. Meaning, if Earth gets moved to a fifth dimension, Earth ceases to exist. And in case you hadn't noticed, that's going to bode really poorly for humans. Okay. And this is why I say it is so important to really get sorted around in your own head that you're in the third dimension. Let's see what we can do about changing your life for what you consider the better. I'm going to put those back where they belong. Do not do that. Knock something over that I didn't want to. Of course, I don't know of anybody that wants to knock something over. There we go. Just water, nothing serious. And this time it's on the floor, not on my computer. Excellent, Doc Sam. I'm so happy for you. From my standpoint, I know I'll be fine. Granted, I'm going to be fine because my brother actually set things up beautifully. Somewhere inside the next year, I will end up set for life, not to live high on the hog. By then, I intend on having everything else moving. But the reality of it is this: you can buy into the negative side of what's going on. You can listen to the news telling you the world's going into war. We're going to go into major food shortages, major land shortages. There's a young lass in the United States, I don't know who she is, that came up with a brilliant concept. We're going to run into major gravity shortages because apparently we're using up all the gravity. I'm not sure how that's possible personally. I look at it going, I wouldn't mind gravity not creating a problem. But I'm thinking if we don't have gravity, we may have bigger issues. At which point it won't matter that we got a shortage on everything else. But it's time to start really focusing on what we desire to have. No, I agree with you there, Doxy. Like, much as I'm not moving anywhere, I will have the best of the best. But do understand, my idea of the best of the best is not necessarily, I don't care about buying something because, it's got this guy's name on it. Okay. The only thing I've seen that's got an author's name on it that I'm really happy I own, and I would go out of my way to get. And this is a bit egocentric, okay, is this sort of thing. It's got my name on it. So yeah, I keep these around. Okay, and clearly I've made it very, at least I think I made it very clear. Where it comes to J.R.R. Tolkien, I absolutely keep his stuff around. But not because of his name. It's because of his ability to write. Now, his son, quite frankly, in my opinion, does not share that same capacity. I'm reading, like I am reading right now. Told you guys I'm reading 3 different books. And I've dreamt of the idea of having the capacity to read like my brother. My brother would take any book. Okay, do I have the one here? No. He would take any book, any normal novel, and he would read it in one night. He'd take the book, and he literally would have the book. He'd open it up, and he would literally read this fast. Okay, and I'm not talking about cover pages. I mean, you go to a book with that kind of writing. Okay, my brother would literally read it this fast. And the funny part about it is when my brother read it that fast, he would remember it word for word and page for page. I don't read that fast. You know, but the 3 books I'm currently writing is this one, which, as you can say, is written by J.R.R. Tolkien, but it's edited by his son. Okay, this has got to be, I definitely like J.R.R. Tolkien, but this has got to be one of the slowest books I've ever read. I will finish it just because that's me. And then this is just book 1 of the Nature Encyclopedia. Okay, I'm almost halfway through it, I think. Certainly a third of the way. Where are we here? Page 50. Actually, I'm on 51. Yeah, I'm a little over a third of the way through this one. So I got those 2 I'm working on. This one, where the heck is it? There it is. Page 245 of approximately 370. So I'm about 2/3 of the way through that one, about 3/4 of the way through that one. And the 3rd one I'm currently reading, and I'm reading this one because I told my dad I would. But that's the Bible. I just started into Deuteronomy. Okay, that's while I'm in the middle of writing 29 other books concurrently. Yeah, he did. Okay, my brother went to university, 3 years in chemistry. Then he stumbled across computers. He was pulling straight A's in chemistry. He stumbled across computers during one of his later courses and swapped majors. 1 year into taking computer programming, NATO pulled him out of college and took him on to work for them. Okay. Phenomenal mind. Yeah, I've read, I read Juxtaposition. I used to like Piers Anthony. I do not recall the name of the one. There's a story he read that revolved entirely around revolved entirely around the tarot. I do not recall what the name of it is, but if you remember it, Emmy, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go hunt it down. Yeah, from my standpoint, writing's always been there. My brother was a reader. My brother actually took the dictionary, read it cover to cover, and found 8 mistakes in the dictionary. I think it was the Webster's. Okay. I do know he found the mistakes in it. But he had a phenomenal mind. Did I envy his mind? You bet. Have I replicated it? I figure I'm doing really well. I remember my birthday. I remember my name. My birthday is tricky, but I remember my name. What is a buddy of mine is not dyslexic. There's another, he's mathematically dyslexic, and there's another name for it. Me, I'm just dense. The good news is I was actually diagnosed mentally retarded. Of course, I didn't agree with them, so I graduated on the honor roll. As for my musical ear, trust me, I'm very clear about one little detail. Okay, I'm doing you a favor by not singing. Okay, I can carry a tune in a bucket as long as that tune is on tape recorder or some other device. That you football, you asking if that's one of us. I had everything looked at, and aside from being mentally retarded, they said apparently I'm mentally retarded and I have a heck of a short temper, vocal temper, where it comes to dealing with stupidity. Now, the neat part about that is I can see the reality of the world we're in. I can tell you wholeheartedly when people are talking. Oh yeah, I was diagnosed mentally retarded because I understand why they came up with it. No, when I was 20 months old, I had a fever of 108.4 that flash fried the hypothalamus and the hippocampus. Physically split the brain. It wiped out all the connective tissue between the brain. Net result, when they hooked up the electrodes on the EEG, they hooked up to one brain. They essentially hooked it up to one brain on here and one brain over here. No connection. It was unreadable. Net result, they told my parents I was mentally retarded. So I confused them all and graduated on the honor roll. But I've come to the conclusion. How we doing, Carl? Glad you could join us. I came to the conclusion that no, it's not physically possible for me to think like other people. I will tell you this. The dimensional barrier between dimensionals, that you can only get through once you've got all of you, once you've regathered all of your parts. Hence, we call it remembering. That was the neat part, is with the damage that was done, normally that's the case. But because, according to the doctors, and I don't know, I won't go back to the doctors now, but because of what they found, essentially, when I had the fever that high, it apparently flash fried the ends of the nerves, making them apparently impossible to regrow. Of course, they also told me it was impossible to walk out of the morgue once you're dead. Okay. Now, do I worry about it? Not in the least. Because I'm thinking, I look at the way the world is, and I look at everybody, at so many people going, oh, this world's a mess. And, when is somebody else going to clean it up? Because I don't know. I don't want to pick up the garbage that I just threw on the floor. Somebody else can pick it up for me. When are they coming down here? If they care so much, when are they coming? Well, they're not. Okay. Not for that purpose. As far as this whole thing about seeing aliens in and out of the world, your grandkids may, and this is assuming that I'm talking to the kids that are in their early teens right now, their grandkids may well see various different races on this planet. Okay. Or various different species, rather, on this planet. But if you think about it, if we're talking their grandkids, Now, it won't be their grandkids. You'd be looking at probably great grandkids. Okay. Understanding that your average person is somewhere between 20 and 30 when they give birth, when they become a parent. Yeah. Gordana's going, mental health pandemic has been going on. Absolutely it has. And it's been literally orchestrated. And do not get me wrong. I do not cotton to the idea of we're being poisoned in the traditional sense of the word. The garbage is being popped out. What do we got? Doxy goes, back then doctors would have had very little info to hold on to and spoke what they believed in the 50s and 60s. Yeah, they definitely have. Asperger's was called schizophrenia back then. Yeah, I've had that problem. You know, and poor Doxy is like, oh boy, my fingers. You know, but no, they didn't have a lot to work with. And of course, the fact that at 5 years old they diagnosed me dead and shipped me off to the morgue, and I went, don't agree, I'm leaving. Dogface, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, there you go. Well, do remember to put your feet up. Oh, it was called tarot. Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate that. See, I used to read when I was younger. I used to read Piers Anthony, Anne McCaffrey, and Robert Adams. Those were pretty, and of course Tolkien. I am going to have to look that one up again. You know, I did read with Anne McCaffrey. I ended up reading the Dragon Riders of Pern series. You know, and of course, this is one I did read. Boy, was this ever a nightmare! Literally, one of the best written horror stories I'd ever read. Left me with nightmares for weeks. And by the way, because I didn't hold up there that long, that was called The Amulet. But again, when we look at dimensions, dimensions are not like we see on Earth. Okay. And that's where the biggest problem is. You know, when we talk about dimensions on Earth, we're talking length, width, and height. Okay. Or length, depth, and height, depending on which way you're looking at it. Okay. The actual physical dimensions of of existence are a lot different than that. Yeah, Doxy goes, I so don't need spooky. I have that in my house. Yep, I understand that all too well. You know, so I mean, I look at the whole idea of dimensions. We are not talking physical dimensions. We are talking about different reality that just warps your brain all over the place. And before anybody jumps to the wrong answer, well, what I consider the wrong answer. When you die, when anybody dies, you all go to the same place. It's not another dimension. Doxy goes, Keith, I can see the veil. They poke their heads through. Absolutely, they do. And you know, it's funny because the veil's not getting any thinner, but what's happening is more and more people are focusing on it. And net result, as a matter of fact, that's one of these. I don't think I read it, but it is going in the anthology. One that I wrote. Did I call it The Veil? I don't remember if I called it The Veil. I believe so. But yeah, the veil itself is not coming apart. Okay, and the people that tell you that it is are, frankly, they're one of two things: either grossly mistaken or fear-mongering. You get to pick which one. The veil was set up quite solidly. I like the way William Shakespeare put it. He goes, if the dead were to get up and walk, we would have one heck of a population problem. But even the dead are not in a different dimension. They're just at a different vibratory rate. So as long as we can focus on the idea that this is the dimension we're working with. Now, are you going to study? Are you going to listen to the news and pick up on all the bad things going on? Or are you going to watch for that one little tidbit of somebody helping somebody? That's your call. Absolutely, the ratios are stupid. They really are. But if you look at any form of research, whether we are talking about watching the news, listening to the news, using tarot, you can read tarot and come up with completely negative approaches. You can read tarot, you can read numerology, you can study astrology, and it will tell you the world is ending. Or you can go to church and they'll tell you the world's ending. Sorry, that was rude. True, but rude. True in my experience, but rude. Okay, you can listen to all kinds of people that will tell you the world's going to end, and I will 100% back you up on it. Okay, because you got to remember, whether we're talking teachers, parents, politicians, clergy, doctors, doesn't matter. They're all human. Okay, or at least half human. Okay. The reality is everybody has free will. Everybody has free choice. What you don't have is freedom from consequence. So if you are going to study something, like I said, I'm currently reading the Bible. Okay. Now I can look at the negative way it's written, or I can look at it and go, here are some gentlemen that, albeit they use some ways that I certainly do not recommend. Okay. But they were doing their best to help the people around them. We all make mistakes. Every single one of us. Okay. I mean, as was said in God. Okay. And what I mean by that, God way back in the 1970s, starring George Burns. Like he said, yes, God made mistakes. Take a look at the pit on the olive. This wasn't well thought out. Okay, but the thing about that is you're entitled to make mistakes. You're supposed to make mistakes. That's what they're there for. It's a question of, are you going to stay focusing on what went wrong? Are you going to focus on who did what wrong? Okay, or who did what differently than you is usually what the case is. It's funny. I ended up destroying my computer because for the third time in my life, my hand spasmed to the point it caused a problem. Well, I was told I should stop drinking coffee around my computer to avoid that problem. As you guys have seen, I've gone through a staggering amount of coffee sitting right beside my computer. Okay, this is the first time that it's ever shaken that badly. Okay, when I had coffee. But when we're looking at dimensions, ask yourself this. Since this is the dimension, this is the world we're in. Okay. Yeah, that's usually within the first hour. Sad, I got up at 1 o'clock this morning. It's now 5:30. Trying to think, I laid down. I didn't actually go to sleep today. Right. So by 9 o'clock this morning, I'd already put 8 hours in the office. Okay. Now what I'm looking at is I've got this going on, and I'm going, and today is Tuesday. No, today is Monday. Yeah, today's Monday. Hope today's Monday. Yep. Okay. Now here's the funny thing. Okay. I'm talking about what we're going on here. These same rules, these same issues apply to every species I've come across. Okay. No, the off-worlders do not come from another dimension. Remember what we just discussed. Yeah, no doubt. Doxy, I presume you're either over in England or down in Australia. You'd have to be. Or no, I think you're further than that. But because you got to be on the other side of the world. Aussie, there we go. One day I may get down there. I don't know. And, there's one site that I would like to feel the energy coming off of. I only know it as a red rock. Okay, right out smack in the middle of nowhere. But of course, with my predilection for not traveling well, the odds of my getting to Australia are not good. Although I'm more likely to go to Australia than I am the Middle East. Because at least in Australia, you guys speak English. And that's pretty much the only one I can speak. I speak mumblese. I used to speak slurries and stutteries on occasion. But I do speak very tiny bits and pieces. Oh, the world will end there, Joe. A buddy of mine calculated out. He figures it'll be somewhere about another 5 billion years. Maybe a little longer, depending on the sun. But is Earth itself going to die in our lifetime? No. The human race may be bombed back to the Stone Age, but all things do come to an end. But the trick is not to worry about what the end is going to look like. The trick is to focus on what you can do to live this life. Gotta ask. Okay, I understand. Now, Uluru, I presume, is the city you're living in? Or is that just simply because there are, like I said, you speak English, but there are a lot of differences. The reason I said I'm more likely to go there is because at least I can speak the language. And much as I've got a knack for learning languages, I don't have a whole lot of time, and I've got enough stress where it comes to, travel in the first place. There we go. Bonus. Thank you for the clarification there, Doxy. Uluru that's the Aboriginal base for the large rock. Perfect. See, I like knowing what the actual names are for places. Not that I ever remember where they are, but it's always nice to start there. But I've always gotten a kick out of the people down there, and I don't mean just Aussies. Okay, I mean the Aboriginals, because I actually studied when I was in high school. I was bored, so I looked into a lot of things. I had to be in school and learning something. Yeah, I have no doubt about that at all, Doxy. Only problem I have with it, in a sense, is from all reports, you got spiders you can ride to the hospital. And it's not that I'm afraid of spiders, but on the other hand, I don't feel like getting bit by something that can take my arm off. Presumably, this just means stay out of where they are. But when my other half gets up here, I do intend on doing my best. No, that's what we get. We got bears up here that up here we've got a neat little concept. It's easy to tell the difference between a black bear and a grizzly. Very easy. Climb a tree. A black bear will come up after you. The grizzly will push the tree down. And then, of course, we got the moose. You know, this funny little thing here. This is part of the railway track that it was all that was left after a moose got into a challenge. Moose got challenged by a train in rutting season. The moose walked away. And of course, the other fun one up here, especially a little further north, is the wolverine. That thing will just hunt you down and kill you because you're within 10 miles of the den. Real pleasant people. You know, personally, I like them, but of course, I'm a little twisted. But no, the reality is, if I'm going there, I will go and I will make sure somebody else make sure I get home. But my other half would like to travel a little, which is really neat when you think she's completely blind. You know, you want to look at the world from a different dimension, if you will. You know, the reality is we've got a certain number of senses. Take one sense out of the equation, and you're limited in what you see. Now, I do not see the world that you see in the same way. Okay, from my standpoint, it boils down to this. The moment somebody starts telling you that mankind is evolving to a higher dimension, they're telling you that because mankind is so special, or those few are so special, they are better than everybody else. You're not ascending. You are maturing. At least I hope you're maturing. Okay. You are learning things and you are going to be able to do things you couldn't do before. But if you think about the rationality behind that, I can pretty much guarantee that every one of you, when you were first born, was not wearing pants. I'm betting dollars to donuts you did not actually have total bowel control or the ability to speak properly. Some of you still don't. I know this. I'm one of them. This is why I trip over my own words. But it's time we start looking at this world and going, okay, we live in the third dimension, in the here and now. It is up to us to straighten out the mess that we made. Okay, I remember down at the park one day, I walked by 15, 20 kids sitting amongst a whole pile of garbage all over the ground. I looked at the bunch of them, I said, you guys are going to make absolutely perfect adults. And the one kid goes, oh, thank you. I says, it wasn't a compliment. You know, we have to start, if we desire this world to turn around, we got to start realizing it's not a case of going to a new dimension or let's colonize another world. Picture the mess of this world. Now take those same people, put them on another world. What do you think is going to happen? See, in the case of Mobius, okay, the Lemurians that were here 50,000 years ago already had peace on Earth. They already had eliminated war. They had eliminated jealousy. So when they went to their new world over in Mobius and they colonized, they took a sense of peace with them. Okay, now on this world, are Bigfoot and Dogman afraid of Wolverines? In all fairness, I doubt very much that Dogman have ever seen a Wolverine. Bigfoot, on the other hand, is one of Esau's protectors, as are Wolverines. And therefore, are they afraid of each other? No. But even Bigfoot won't poke a Wolverine. You know, the reality of it is, what do we got here? Just waiting for that to come in. Whoop. Just waiting for that to come up where I can read it there, Joe. I'm just waiting for it to update on my screen. on the other screen here so I can actually see it. How about if we do it this way? We'll refresh that and see what we're up to. No, okay. Yeah, I like that analogy there. Joe's going, if you think about it, the Adam and Eve bit an apple. Then our iPhones were invented, and on the back of them is a bitten apple. Our devices are dangerous. They probably spying on our every move. Oh, let me clear that up. Okay, if you've got one of these, okay, you'll notice there's a neat little camera here, and you can call me paranoid if you'd like. Okay, you'll notice it's got a camera. Whether your phone is on or off doesn't matter. Okay, now we go back to so are they utilizing your phones, your cameras? You bet. If it's digital, they're watching. But understand something very important. Back in the 70s, I told people then, if when you walk into a government office, into a government building, not only can they tell you how much money you've got, but they in your pocket, but they can tell you how much of each denomination. Now, I was told I was absolutely nuts. And this is 50 years ago. In the early 2000s, on either W5 or 60 Minutes, one of those types of shows. Okay. Somebody came out from the Canadian government and goes, look, back in the 70s, here's the tracking stuff we used to track money. And yeah, I see that there. Celeste, how you doing? Glad you could join us. He's just going, a computer monitor is literally called a monitor. Doxy is asking, you know how when a spirit is around and gets cold, what does it mean when you become freezing? Then you ask God and guides to help. Well, number one, the reason it's cold is because spirits don't have a circulation system to keep them warm. This is why the cold happens in the first place. Okay. Now, the neat thing about asking God for help, first thing I would suggest is thank Him for help first. Never mind with the asking. Thanking works better. But it literally is that mindset, because you got to remember, God is in everyone. You all have the capacity of creation. Every one of you, and I know that sounds sacrilegious. Oh my gosh, Keith, you're going to hell. I've been there, done that. Got the ball cap, got the t-shirt, tried the hot tubs, way too hot. Okay, but no, you got to remember something, Doc. First and foremost, when you ask the gods and guides for help, what you're doing is bolstering your own energy field to deal with that temperature. You're not in danger. There are very, very, very few cases where a spirit will endanger another person. Okay, it does happen. But the thing you got to remember, the human body has an auric field that stretches an average of 30 feet in diameter, meaning when you're feeling that ghost, it could be as much as 60 feet away. It's not even necessarily in the same room. Okay, because they are not contained by a corporeal entity and by a corporeal body. Yeah, no, they can be, like I said, as much as 60 feet away. But here's the kicker. They don't even have to be inside the building you're in. Okay. Now, if you concentrate on it, just to give you an idea, Doxy, and this may help you work with it a little more. And this applies to every one of you guys out there. Take your two hands. Okay. Don't worry about the fingers. Face them together. About a quarter inch to a half an inch apart. You'll feel some form of energy. Okay, now I've heard it described as heat, as cold, as energy, as pressure. In one case, I got told it felt like bubbles. Where are we? Yeah. Emmy goes, those Wolverines fear nothing, even bears. They seem like they're always in a bad mood. No, not always. Just 99% of the time. If it's not a bad mood, it's just the mood they're in. But if you take your hands and you put them that far apart, you can feel the energy. That's what you're working with. Okay. And the fact that God is in everyone, you've got the capacity to bolster that energy, to bring your temperature back up. And essentially, as I heard it put in one movie, essentially you sour the milk and they'll let go of you. Or they'll move away. But this world that we've got, people talk about, we got thrown out of the Garden of Eden. Actually, you didn't. That's the funny thing. You're still standing on it. It's just a wreck. What happened was you got told if you're going to choose a negative road, you're going to have to deal with the consequences. The consequences being the animals were no longer completely friendly. Okay, you had to work to keep warm because you were no longer warmed essentially by the spirit in your own body, or if you will, by the spirit of God. When that barrier was crossed, okay, all of that it wasn't taken away. You still have it. This is why some people can walk around like we are right now. I'm just looking at temp. What am I looking there for? Right now in the house, what do we got here? I got my window open because it was overheating. We're only 7 degrees Fahrenheit. Where are we here? This house is good. So we're 7 degrees and I can go outside quite comfortably in it. But the reality of it is when we take a look at the whole thing of Adam and Eve, it wasn't that you were thrown out of the Garden of Eden. This is not a bad world. This is not hell. The problem is it's a fixer-upper. And one person isn't going to fix it up. There's no way one person is going to do it. But working together, we can make it happen. Okay. Not by going to another dimension, because quite frankly, you already have a dimension here. Okay, going to another planet isn't going to do you much good either if you don't change behaviors. This is why I'm going through all the paperwork behind me and changing things around to lay it out the way I desire it. Okay. The fact of the matter is I've got a whole pile of things I'd like to get done. And if I stay on top of the ball, okay, I'm looking at a simple little situation. Okay. And that is, I'm 60 right now. I'm aiming at living yet another 80 years, approximately. Whether I'll make that, I don't know. But I'm certainly doing my best to make it happen. Why? Don't know that entirely either. Ultimately, this is correct, Joe. But you got to remember, the government and big business want two things on the whole. Okay. And when I talk about big business, do understand, I'm talking your corporations, the government, which, by the way, is a business, and mainstream and even minor stream religion is a business. Okay. It's easier to theoretically to control people if they live in fear. Now, I am building an empire. That's just the way that's going. But I refuse to build it based on fear. Okay. I refuse to build it based on causing other people to feel completely impotent, completely without recourse in their own life. I would rather the people around me have the capacity to change their life for the better for themselves. Granted, with assistance. Let's face it, very few people actually know how to look in the mirror and go, that's what's wrong with me. I've got to change that. Okay. Nathan, how we doing? And Nathan, in case people did not know, happy birthday. Hopefully your day has been going well. Now, let's see if I can get this thing. This is the live stream, the link to Nathan's live stream. And here we go. Right there. So drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights of the thing. And don't forget to give him a thumbs up. And thanks so much for joining us. You know, the reality of it is we have a job here. We've got an opportunity to take this world and turn it into something that the cosmos can look at and go, now there's a holiday hotspot. Okay. You know, the question is, do you want a lot of people around here if the place is being treated the way it is? I mean, think of the way humans treat each other right now. Not the most friendly individuals I've ever run into. Though I will tell you, and this is why with the Yldrbac Chronicles, I'll be writing on, I've got a number of things. I'm going to be up for a while yet. I was about to ask what day we're on, but we're still on Monday because that's what it was when I got up this morning. But we have to realize, number one, okay, and you can argue the point if you'd like. Be my guest. Okay, but number one, we're in the third dimension. We're not getting out of the third dimension anytime soon. Okay, and no, mankind is not ascending to the fourth dimension or the fifth one. Earth is not moving to the seventh dimension. You're in the third. Okay, and people can argue that with me. I've yet to find somebody that can convince me otherwise. Doxy's going, if only we could ask the whole world to pray or meditate on one day at the same time, what we could achieve. Absolutely agreed. And this is one of the reasons why in here I am so happy with you guys, with the support I see you guys from all over the world reaching out to help each other when you're having struggles. Myself included, and rest assured that's a weird feeling on my end. Most of my life, people have shunned me. They have looked at me in all kinds of really weird ways. And not very many of them pleasant. Okay. But this stream, in this chat room, is a microcosm of what is possible. Okay. And I know many of you walk out of this room, and maybe I'm overstepping. Don't really care. But I'm absolutely certain of the fact that many of you walk out of this room and at least do your level best to be a little nicer to people, to be a little more understanding, that maybe there's more to the situation that you're seeing than you're aware of. Robert, how you doing? Glad you could join us. It's like I mentioned on the 11th there, Robert. Okay, it doesn't have to be done all at once. Okay, I mean, and it has the potential of having phenomenal support and some phenomenal impact. But 40,000 years ago, we all thought the same thing. Of course, we were all connected mentally, and everybody shut their physical heart off at the same time. This was a really bad move. Really bad. In our defense, we'd never tried it. So we were operating out of pure ignorance. And it wasn't really thought through. Hence why we ended up with 5 billion dead in a heartbeat. Pardon the pun, but the thing is, whether whether one person thinks about it now and the next guy is a minute or two down the road. Oh, there we go. Robert's going, doing okay. Been wheeling around the house waiting on a phone call. Robert, just one thing to remember. Stairs are a lot of fun, but there are complications. And by the way, the reason I say something like that, my brother used to rehab quadriplegics. You know, like I've had some brothers in very weird setups. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, my brother used to teach paraplegics how to go upstairs in a wheelchair. My brother was twisted. He'd also steal their wheelchairs to make sure that they got out of bed. But then Brian was my older brother, not the one that just died. Brian actually passed away a decade ago. Actually, 13 years ago now. But the nice part about it is everything is possible, except you can't go back in time from anything I've seen, and you cannot change dimensions or multiverse lives. Okay, you're stuck here. Make the most of it. If you don't know how, reach out. So far, everything seems to be pointing in the same direction. Yeah, Robert goes, abs of steel to bring the chair with you upstairs. Yep. Which ain't bad since he was dying when was born. He was told by the doctor or mom and dad were told by the doctors, take him home, give him all the love you can, he'll be dead in 2 months. Well, in their defense, he did die about 2 months before he turned 53. Unless you count the number of times he died before that, and then came back. But we're looking at a world right now where we have the capacity to change the path it's on. Even with the number of wars and the amount of threat around war, mankind, all of us working together, we can bring it to a halt before it gets out of hand any further than what it already is. But we've got to start looking at the world from the perspective of we can actually make this a better world. But we've got to put the effort in. Okay, yes, there are different dimensions. Okay, but no, people do not jump between dimensions. They do, however, some of them do know how to vibrate and alter their biomagnetic field to redirect the sunlight so they appear to disappear. Okay, that they do. Okay, some are just excessively good at disappearing into a camouflage setting. Okay, but there are other forces that are available, still within the third dimension. So I'm hoping this is making sense. Yeah. And I won't argue what your understanding is. It's not that it's creating a new dimension. What it is every decision you make creates a new line in the multiverse. And on the plus side, you remember a chap by the name of Stephen Hawking? He was about a week away from mathematically proving the existence of the multiverse. But it's not a new dimension. It's just a new line in the multiverse. And that is ever expanding. It was designed that way, quite seriously, so that God, as in the one that created the whole 9 yards, and in all fairness, you're going to love this one. I was told he didn't actually create it. He didn't actually create the template, as it were. He brought it with him. Because according to him, when I had the conversation with him the last time, he is not the top of the totem pole. And yeah, I know that sounds like sacrilege. I got over it pretty quick. Rest assured, I know better than any of you are. Okay? And worse than some. But I won't hold it against you. Where are we? Robert White's going similar to the branches in the Loki show on Disney. Yes, very similar. But unlike the Loki show on Disney, okay, people can't jump between timelines. It doesn't work that way. Your imagination can create an image or an illusion, if you will, that makes you think it. But if you hang on to that illusion, they also call that delusion, which I think is qualified as another mental, Well, let me put it this way. Robert's going, not yet anyway. 50,000 years ago, the Lemurians could manifest whatever they desired. Okay. Problem was when they shut their physical hearts off, they still ended up dead in a heartbeat and they still couldn't bring the dead back. Okay. And rest assured, there were a lot of people, because of the fact that there was nothing we had ever not been able to do, a lot of people tried to reverse that, to shift gears and walk into a new dimension, into a new multiversal timeline in order to bring the friends back. Okay, friends, family, loved ones, whichever. Okay, absolutely, Doxy, we'll still be here for a bit. But we are unlike the movie, and movies are great. Like in the movie Independence Day, humans took essentially an abacus, plugged it into an IBM supercomputer, and uploaded a virus to defeat the aliens. It's a great story with no functional backbone to it. Okay, and this is the same thing with the multiverse and with dimensions. Okay, but this is why I say, much as they are there, the moment somebody starts telling you that mankind is ascending to a new dimension, shut your ear. In my opinion, shut your ears off. No, I am not. I'm being. I do not know everything. I know barely enough to know I don't know enough. Okay, but I will tell you that if you buy into the concept that you can change the past or you can just abandon this life, if that is the case, why are so many people living here in misery? Okay, somebody would have had to at least accidentally jump the bridge. Okay, and Lord knows, if I'd have been able to get off this planet when I was younger, well, I did get off the planet. The problem was they brought me back. Okay, but if it was that possible, how many people that are living a miserable life right now would still be living said miserable life? Would they not with today's interesting setup? Nathan, take them up on it. Lord knows you've got a fair chunk of insight into it. And best of luck with it. Celeste Sophia Celeste goes, I wonder how disappointed the New Earth New Agers are going to be. Yeah, some of them are very unhappy about it. I've talked to some, it's like, but I was brought up to believe that I could. Yep, you were. Unfortunately, that ain't going to help a lot. You know, I'm a firm believer that virtually everything is possible. There is a guy, or more to the point, there was a guy in the States, I don't know if he's still alive now, that used to skydive, and you can find him on YouTube, maybe. He used to skydive without a parachute. He found it out by accident, jumped out of a parachute and landed safely on his feet twice. Well, 3 times if you count testing. Now, this means it's possible. This does not mean it's a good idea. You know, yeah, the New Agers, some of the New Agers are very locked in an idea. Okay. And again, if you look at the negative, if you focus on what's negative, you can have a wonderfully miserable time. Okay. And many New Agers are going, we can go to another world. You know, we're ascending to a new dimension. And yet they still are being refused that exit because they say that time and again and are still living in that world. Now, in my case, I go, I'm going to live in a new world. My world is going to be free of clutter. You'll notice I'm getting rid of a whole pile of things, eh? That's called physical manifestation. Get off your tail feathers and change the way your life is going. Okay. You know, a lot of the people in the religious communities go, we'd like, we want to go back to the Garden of Eden. So co-create it. Put your differences aside and start working with each other to build the world you're looking for. You know, as the saying goes, be the change you desire to see. That was no fun. Okay, the question here is not, are you going to a new dimension? The question is, are you going to continue living your life in the negative with the negative results you've been living? Okay, Nathan's got an absolutely brilliant opportunity here to go and talk about negative manifestation on another show. Okay, now he can go in there and he can talk about how the negative manifestation can be worked, or he can talk about why not do that. I mean, there's a lot of room to work with, but I'm absolutely certain that you've got this well in hand there, Nathan. I'm hoping you said yes, that you'll do it. You've just got to get on board. You've just got to work out the time frame. You know, way too many people, what happens is way too many people get caught up in the idea of my life is this way and I'm stuck with it. Because we're told if you're poor, you're going to be poor for the rest of your life. Of course, how many millionaires lost their money overnight? I don't buy into that at all. Tracy B, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Sad to say, right at the end of the day. Missed having you here, though. So hopefully your day's been going well. You know, the reality of this world is this. You've got a world, you've got a beautiful opportunity right here, right now, to change the way your life is going. Okay? And this is the backbone of the whole thing. Are we going to continue living our life the way it's been? I could continue living with clutter, with garbage all over the place. I could have broken down in tears and just gone, oh, my life is over. My computer's gone. Instead, what I've done is redesign my whole office. I got a lot of room here now.
primarily because I got rid of one monitor up here. But I didn't know how much money that was creating. That was not how much money, how much power it was drawing. So I've downsized the computer to a degree, and I'm simply moving forward with it. Now, with that in mind, it's just a simple question. There are 12 dimensions. You're not getting to any of them until you've managed to pull all of your component parts of your soul together. Then you get the opportunity. Now, here's another neat little fact for you. Right now, I'm working on Return to Paradise in the Yldrbac Chronicles. The book coming out after that, called Where It All Began, will be, at least right now, that's the title it's got, that it's working with, will literally cover how this whole thing about dimensions, about soulmates, all of these things. I'm going to be covering a lot of that information there as well. Just my world's a little screwy, that's all. Now, because we're at the 2-hour mark here, just a quick little note. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me tonight. I really appreciate it. If you did like the show, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of the thing. Okay, I will be back again to talk. Okay, do I have tomorrow laid out? Tomorrow is... No, I do not. So I'll have to figure that. Oh. That's Monday. Yeah. So tomorrow, I'll have to figure that out. But I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.